two kind of people out there. There's people that are the king, that's me, and people that are not.
Oh, no way. Oh my God. No way. Oh my God.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 133 of 1 Million of the Serial Chillers podcast. As always, I like to start it by saying, how goes it? Hella, Greg.
It's good, man. I'm excited. Tonight's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. It's a family affair.
It is.
I'm here with a couple guests, but we're going to keep them secret for a moment here as we get into business. Most of you know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, we sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer. Something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
No.
All right.
Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Okay, really quickly, let's introduce these guests before we go a little farther. Then I'll introduce the killer, and then we'll get into the social media stuff. Today's guests, guys, one of your favorites of all time. She's been here many times. She's been voted top guest on multiple occasions. Welcome back, Mama Chey.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And as I'm sure most of you know, Mama Chey is my mama.
That's where she got the name and everything.
Yep, that's my mom. And sitting next to her today for the first time on the show, welcome Rob, who is my dad. So it's my mom and dad tonight, guys. We got
Hi.
fam.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Rob.
Good to see you.
It's
It
a
only
family
took
affair.
you-
This is going to be fun.
Yeah. It only took you moving across the country to get Dad to come on.
Well, I get to see you.
Now we could use the guilt.
So let me ask.
It's a powerful tool.
We've had couples on before, and there's always some sort of stakes for whatever reason, because this show has absolutely no stakes at all. There is no prize if you win. But whenever we've had couples on, there's always been something on the line. I believe somebody had to move out at one point. But
Oh, damn.
I won't ask you to go that high. But are there any stakes tonight?
Yeah, the loser has to buy dinner.
I'll just go ahead and take the loss. It's better.
You say that, but I don't. She's a great guest, but I don't think her record's been that great.
No, my record sucks balls. Big ones.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes down. The great thing is that these questions really nobody knows many of them. Besides last week's episode, or I guess 2 weeks ago, how these are dropping. It was Dustin and Ashley were here, and I told them the killer, and I was like, "Have you guys heard of him?" They're like, "Yeah, we watched a documentary about him like a week ago."
Oh, wow.
I was like, "What? How the hell? What are the odds of that?" So generally, most people come in with very little knowledge, and most of the questions I ask, even people who have knowledge of the cases, are generally kind of the ones that wouldn't help you anyway. So I think we're gonna have some fun. We'll see how it goes. Welcome back, everybody. Shy, welcome Rob for the first time. Greg, I'm stoked for this. This is going to be a good time tonight.
Yes.
Really quick references and citations for this episode. True Crime All the Time podcast, the Black True Crime podcast, Wikipedia, always, Richmond.com, Oxygen.com, which is basically a breakdown of the Oxygen episode of Killer Siblings that this article is based on. Also, if you guys want to find us, do it on Instagram and TikTok. We also have a YouTube. If you guys are someone who likes to just listen to your podcasts through YouTube, we still, even though we're not doing a video version of it any longer, you can still go there and listen to the show. The Threadless store is great if you want some merch. Patreon, or you can donate one-time thing. You just go to serialchillerspod.com. It's got all of this information. Remember, if you want to mail us any cool drugs or anything, P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California, 93613. Again, all this information is on serialchillerspod.com. And again, I want to mention that easily the best way to get to Greg and I, we always talk about, because we'll miss messages sometimes for months because that requests thing normally doesn't fill up for us. Hit us up on the phone number 805-666-2513 or email us serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. Okay, today's killers. Tell me, have you guys heard of the Briley Brothers?
No.
Never have.
All right. Well, that's perfect then. Because question number 1. In what year was Linwood James Briley born?
Hit that again because the Discord
The
cut out when you
sound
got too high.
What's his first
Year?
name?
Nope, strike 2.
Yeah. Well, in what year was Linwood James Briley born? Linwood James Briley. All right, you guys know how it works. Closest to the answer is 250 points. If you nail it, it's for 1,000. Greg, you'll have to let me know what they wrote.
All right, let's see what you got. Shai says 1944.
1944.
Rob says 1909.
Linwood.
That's going to be
He's doing the math.
250 points to Cheyenne.
Yes, I finally
Because,
got something.
Linwood is the eldest of the Briley brothers. He was born on March 26th, 1954.
54.
Yes. Don't worry. We got 11 questions tonight.
Oh, dang.
Rob, as we like to say, plenty of time. Okay. So the 3 Briley brothers, Linwood Earl was born March 26th of 1954. James Dyrell Jr. was born June 6th, 1956. Anthony Ray was born February 17th, 1958. So they're all about 2 years apart. They were brought up by their parents, James Dyrell Briley Sr. and Bertha, in Richmond's Highland Park neighborhood. This at a time was a very good neighborhood, and the boys grew up in a very established and caring home. They had a big house. They lived in a very nice neighborhood. Their dad had a very good job, and they were very taken care of. So it's a very stark contrast to
What
about
they end up
90% of the that and about 90% of the stories where it's just that we have on the show where it's just like
Bad
these terrible
upbringings.
and bad parents and bad interactions, and this really wasn't the case for these boys. They just kind of got what they needed and wanted and were taken care of and loved.
Every time we talk about like bad upbringings on the show, I think of there was one serial killer whose mom was a prostitute, and she knocked her son unconscious and left him in the corner of the room.
Oh my God.
Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, Henry Lee Lucas. And
she also, remember, her husband didn't have legs. He pulled himself on a cart, and she would take his cart away.
Yeah. But
Wow.
But the reason that Henry Lee Lucas was taken to the hospital wasn't because his mom was eventually like, oh, we got to take this kid to the hospital. It's because her pimp was like, hey, unconscious kid in the corner is really bad for business, so I'm going to take him to the hospital if you don't mind.
Her pimp.
Yeah, I think I hear people say bad upbringing, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind every time. It's just a little slumped over
is
kid.
the
in the
literal
corner.
worst ever.
The pimp's got to take the boy.
Yeah.
Bad for
Hey,
business.
wait a minute. Did you scratch that out?
Well, because I wrote 47 first.
Oh, okay.
I would have won anyways.
You seen my answer.
47.
All right, sorry.
No, this is how it works here.
Banter.
So they were born and raised, like I said, in a very good neighborhood, very good parents. They have an older brother named Edward Jerome who actually moved to North Carolina with relatives in his late teens and didn't have much involvement with the boys after that, especially not in their criminal ways we're going to get into. So the boys, after their eventual, what we're going to talk about here, all of their neighbors came out and said, like, this is kind of nuts to us. These kids were helpful. They mowed lawns. I should say that their neighborhood was sort of like full of elderly people, basically. They lived in a very nice, quiet neighborhood, and it was a lot of elderly people. And the Briley brothers were they were like the boy, hey, could, James come over and help me with my gutters, and I'll pay him $10. And And James was like, heck yeah, Mr. Smith, I'll be there. And, you know, that was the kind of kids they were. They were the kids of the neighborhood.
That's like what, the late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I'd do a bunch of shit for $10 in the late 60s, early 70s. That's a lot of money.
Exactly. I started my own hotel.
You say out there out earning some people's parents.
Yeah. So they were always willing to help mow lawns, do other tasks. All the elderly neighborhoods, all of the elderly neighbors in the neighborhood. Question number 2. The brothers had an interesting hobby. What could that have been? Was it A, weapon collecting, B, exotic pet collecting, C, rare stamp collecting, or D, gardening? That is A, weapon, B, exotic pets, C, rare stamps, or D, gardening. They shared this hobby. They did it together.
Rob says C, rare stamp collecting.
I said C, rare stamps.
Cheyenne says C, rare stamps.
That is 0 points for everybody on the board there.
What the hell do they do?
They were exotic pet collectors.
Shut up.
The boys collected such exotic pets in their homes as boa constrictors, other smaller varieties of more venomous snakes and lizards, tarantulas, and scorpions.
I wouldn't call those exotic.
Well, maybe for the area.
I guess, but go out in the desert and find those now.
Well, you just have a father-in-law that's...
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Well, also, I was going to say, like, exotic is, like, not a cat, dog, hamster, you know.
I guess.
I think that's where I'm at with it. So the boys were said to have an affinity for feeding their animals live prey and watching them make the kill to get the food. Like it was something, you know, they were big fans of it. Like throwing the rabbit in with the snake and watching it eat.
I feel like that'd be tougher to watch than a mouse. Like I feel like a snake eating a mouse would be okay, but like when that thing's 9 feet long.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you got a big snake, mice just don't do it anymore. And rabbits scream, guys. I don't know if anybody knew that.
No.
Rabbits, they just scream.
That.
Hey, so do frogs.
Shut up.
We have a lot of big toads here, and I'll pick them up, and they'll do that. Like Jesus, what they got a dinosaur in my hand? Okay, so
the Soundgate got that, so that was pretty funny.
It always does. Damn you, Soundgate. It's just not the same. So, when the boys reached their mid to late teens, their mother kind of basically cut ties with the family and moved away.
She left the boys?
Yeah, with their dad.
Okay.
4 teenage boys. She was like,
well, remember the oldest brother's gone by now. So there's just 3. It's Anthony, James, and Linwood.
That's more than enough.
It is more than enough because it was at this time that the boys seemed to have begun acting out the most, and their father lost control of the home. I don't mean like the brothers like stopped listening to curfew and like didn't listen to their dad. I mean like they punked him, and he feared the shit out of them. And when he went to bed at night, he would padlock his door from the inside.
Got to keep yourself safe, Daddy.
It's against fire code, but I suppose you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, he fully feared his sons. So it is said that their father, due to their son's behavior, had a penchant for keeping freaky animals who would sleep with a padlock on the inside of his door each night, sometimes sleeping with a weapon. The brothers had fully taken over the home, and with Mom gone, Dad at this point has fully lost control. It isn't certain exactly when the boys decided to basically start their own gang. But much like playing GTA 5 with Hella Greg, they had one philosophy. Greg?
No witnesses.
No witnesses.
Yeah, no witness, no crime.
Yeah, so
Yep.
It's brutal.
That's how you have a long criminal career. You can have a short one by just letting stuff happen all willy-nilly, but no witness, no crime. You get to do that shit forever.
Remember in the old Red Dead Redemption 1 days, it's just even like dropping the horses. No witnesses.
I mean, can't be looking at me.
The first major crime attributed to the brothers would be committed by Linwood. Now, Linwood ringleader, likely. Also, the loosest of the cannons. Like you're going to see in most of the attacks, it's basically Linwood leading the charge and everybody else kind of following along. James definitely gets his hands dirty, but Linwood is...
He's the guy. He's the tip of the spear.
He's a fucking bad news bears, that Linwood.
So I know his name's Linwood, but I keep reading it here and hearing it as Elwood, and I keep thinking of the Blues Brothers. Oh. So I picture these guys out there dressed like the Blues Brothers, which
so
again,
there are three young African American men.
Oh, okay.
In this is now where we're kind of working into the early 70s here.
Okay.
So affluent young African American men, basically, is what we're looking at in Richmond, Virginia. So it's a tough time and place for them, if I'm being perfectly honest. And their family has done very well to raise them and done very well for themselves in the meantime. So on January 28th, 1971, Linwood was home by himself and up on his second floor bedroom. He looked down into his elderly neighbor's yard and saw Orlean Christian out there hanging her laundry on the line. Orlean was a 57-year-old widow who had just buried her husband the week before, just minding her own business, when Linwood saw an opportunity. Question number 3. What did he do to his neighbor? Did he A, throw a rock at her from the window, B, threaten her from the window, C, shoot her with a small caliber rifle from the window, or D, just stare her down until she ran inside from fear?
When you say small caliber rifle, are you talking like pellet gun, BB gun, like something like that, or like...
No, I think I would have said pellet gun or BB gun. We're talking small caliber rifle.
Okay. Rob says C.
I said D, fear.
I says stare at her.
Stare that bitch down.
Mad dog.
Rob's going to tie it up because Linwood, who's 16 at the time, goes to his closet and took out a small caliber rifle. I can't find anywhere
Can
where
it shoot
it says,
that far?
I'm guessing a 22. That seems like something a 16-year-old might have, a little varmint rifle and, like access to.
Full of snake shot.
You could buy that at Kmart all day long.
Yeah. In 1971.
Sure.
Yeah, a little Marlin. So, yes, it's January 28th, 1971, and he did indeed shoot her with a small caliber rifle from the window. It's 250 to 250 now. He went to his closet and took out a small caliber rifle. In many of the sources, they just refer to it as a rifle. Some say that it was a small caliber. Yeah, okay, I already talked about that. Linwood took aim at his neighbor and fired, striking Orlean in the upper back or side area just under her armpit. So basically, like, imagine she's hanging.
I wonder if she even knew what happened. Just like, oh, shit, what is that?
From down, and kind of got her. Well, the thing is that Orlean did have, like, some health issues. And apparently this wound did not bleed much because basically she was taken in, autopsied, or not. I don't think she got an autopsy. She was
taken killed her?
They did a cause of death. It killed her.
Yeah, she died.
Shit. She died. They got a cause of death as basically like a heart attack, natural causes type thing. And when her family came in for a viewing, they noticed the hole in her armpit, brought attention to it, and then they kind of backpedaled everything and went, oh my God, dude, she was actually shot, and she likely died from the gunshot wound, not what we talked about before. So the body was re-examined, and it was determined that she did die of a GSW and not of a heart condition.
Now, did it drop her like right there in the yard? Is that where or what was it like one of those? She went inside, she laid down.
I think she stumbled around the yard a little.
Okay.
Yeah, because like there's not a lot of knockdown power in a small, like if it's a 22,
right?
If you're a fully grown person, but it hits you and you go like, oh shit, and whatever, it went through your lungs or whatever, and she falls down and suffocates. Like,
right. Well, I didn't know if it was like I didn't know if it was one of those where she like it hit her and then it didn't kill her right away. She just noticed something was wrong, so she went and took a nap to like feel better. And
from what I understand, she was found in the backyard.
Okay, that answer that's good. Well, good enough.
And it's crazy too that it was her family who saw the gunshot wound.
Yeah,
it was like,
very
what the hell is
crazy.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, swing and a miss.
Yeah. Come on, Richmond, Virginia, 1971. 52-year-old police work. So again, after they find that it was a gunshot wound, not the heart condition, police would return to the scene and use a piece of plywood and wooden dowels to determine where the shot came from. So we're talking like now we're in old forensic work. Now it's like lasers and
pull this string taut.
yeah. That's where it came from. So police would then, they used the plywood, they used dowels. They determined that the shot was from the Briley household. So after a search of the home, they would find the murder weapon, and Linwood would eventually confess to the crime. Now, I would think that if I were 16 years old and I was just getting caught shooting somebody, listen, I got in a little bit of trouble around 16 for getting in a fight at school, and I was riddled with guilt. And I can't imagine, if I had killed somebody.
An old lady.
What I might
Your
be
neighbor,
feeling.
your next door neighbor, not even like a random old lady, like an old lady you had to see every day.
And that he's, helped before and mowed the lawn, and, her husband, she had buried her husband, the week before, I want to say, or maybe 2 weeks before, very recently before.
It's almost the perfect crime.
So while
Almost.
detectives interview him and try to come up with basically a motive for what caused him to shoot at his neighbor, he basically said, I heard she had heart problems. She would have probably died soon anyway.
Not a reason.
It's pretty cold.
So to him, it's just a mercy killing.
Listen, this is Linwood through and through for the rest of the episode, only escalating tenfold each time, it feels like. So it's a little bit of a shorter episode too, and the reason for that is a lot of the serial killers we talk about and have accounts for left a wake of survivors as well, and you have sort of those in-depth stories because of that. These guys didn't leave
survivors?
These guys didn't really leave anybody to survive. There were when they said no witnesses.
No.
You're going to see later. Some of it is horribly brutal. We've only just begun to be sick to our stomachs. Okay, so he was punished as a minor at 16. Thank you, Greg.
Producing,
and he would end up 1 year from reform school for his crime. That's what he gets.
He got 1 year
of reform school. Not even juvenile detention. But yeah, that's wild to me. So James would not be as far behind as about a year and a half later on his 16th birthday, he would get in a shootout with police in which no one would be wounded, but you're not really supposed to take shots at people, much less
a shootout at
police
16 with
officers.
I mean, that doesn't say a whole lot for him, but that really doesn't say a whole lot for that police department. How many people do you have out there shooting back at this kid, and nobody's got a single shot? At least his brother's 1 for 1.
Every time I think about Ace Ventura, come on, can't you hit me?
Yeah, it's like the movies where it's like the movies where they always miss. Every shot misses.
Like stormtroopers.
Yeah.
So, again, James not too far behind. Shoot out the police. 8 years after Linwood killed his neighbor, the now young men have come to some sort of agreement to commit some robberies and potentially some rapes and leave no witnesses in the process.
Dang.
At this point, they also have their youngest brother Anthony involved, as well as an accomplice and a friend of the boys named Duncan Meekins. So we've got Linwood Briley, James Briley, Anthony Briley, and Duncan Meekins. We've got a crew of 4 who've basically all agreed, this is what we're going to do.
Let's go.
We're in it to win it.
How do you come up with that? I've never...
Hey, let's get 4 people together and let's go rape and murder people.
Yeah, I've been oh, dude, we should hang out this week. We should go skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Murder.
Yeah, we should go steal from somebody and then shoot the witnesses.
I have thought I could get away with murder, though. I just couldn't do the actual murder.
That's fair.
Whoa, guys. Okay, you guys got to hit up Mama Chey for that information. So
she's like, I've got a method.
Yeah. Okay. So the four boys, we're gonna call them the gang. In some of these crimes, it's unclear which of the four were there. There are always more than one. And if we know specifically, I'll put it in. But some of the crimes are a little ambiguous as to which of the four. I'm gonna just call them brothers. Duncan's gonna be included in the thing for now, and we'll specify Duncan's crimes when we get there. So, on March 12th, 1979, two of the brothers, Linwood and Anthony, hatched a plan and targeted an elderly couple named William and Virginia Boucher. Linwood went up to the door and claimed to be having car trouble and asked William for help. William was wary of the men and had only opened the door, leaving a security screen between he and them. William agreed to help by calling AAA, and when he opened the screen door to take the AAA card from Linwood, Linwood forced his way inside. So basically, this guy, it's the middle of the day, but this basically old man has, a couple young kids come up to the door. And again, it is 1979 in Virginia, and there are a couple young black kids. It's not impossible to think that, there might have been a reason in that man's mind that as they say, it was a different time. He doesn't open the door all the way for them, but he wants to be helpful. He doesn't want to send them out, and say, fuck you. Says he'll call AAA, and they're like, oh, okay, here, take our AAA card. I guess in 1979, everybody had AAA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, dude, I did until I had to start paying for it on my own. I was on my dad's AAA account for a while. Had the little plastic key that was in the credit card, stick in your wallet in case you ever lose your key.
Dang. So he opens the screen door, and basically they force their way inside. The Briley brothers are swift. They don't waste much time when they do things. They don't hesitate much. And this is their first foray into organized crime with themselves, taking the four of them and doing it. And remember, they want no witnesses. So at the scene was Linwood, Anthony, and Duncan Meakin. So James, I believe, was not at this one. But Linwood held the couple at gunpoint while Meakins tied them up. During this time, Anthony began clearing the house of valuables. Once it seemed that Meakins had it under control, Linwood joined Anthony, and at the same time, they also began dousing the home in kerosene. They packed their stolen goods into a trunk, and basically they get a nice haul that they stole. Question number 4. Here are 5 items. One of these was not stolen from the Bouchers. Okay. What was it? So I'm going to give you a list of 5 things. One thing did not get stolen. Was it A, a .32 pistol, B, a CB radio, C, a TV, D, some jewelry, or E, power tools? One of these things was not stolen.
I like the audible you called there. I was following along, and I was like, how's he going to get out of this?
Yeah. I was like, I meant to delete that.
Rob says D. Shy says
TV. They were too big back then.
Oh, TV. That yellow is hard to see from here.
Huh.
That's good. It's making me
Switch
work.
your color, Shy.
No. It's good. It's making me work.
I have 3 different colors.
So their haul consisted of things, and these things were a TV.
Damn it.
A CB radio, a .32 pistol, and a lot of jewelry. That's no points for anybody on that one.
Actually, I got power tools.
Oh, you said E?
Did you?
No, I wrote down D.
You don't get it. You get what you wrote down.
Power tools.
That's why I write my letter and.
It's all right.
Yeah, but the TVs were huge back then.
Yeah, but
which is ironic because the screens were small.
Yeah, but TVs were like
expensive.
That is the,
I guess,
prize of all prizes in a home.
I guess.
Could you imagine stealing a TV back then? You also have to go steal that thing that goes in front of the screen to make it big enough to be visible.
And the bunny ears.
Yeah. No wonder they took 4 guys. They had to lift that thing.
So basically, they made a sweep. They took what they wanted. As they were making their sweep and said, all right, this room is clear, they doused the room in kerosene, which, I'm sure most of you know is very flammable liquid. They exit the home with the couple still tied up in their dining room, strike one match, use it to inflame an entire book, and throw it into the house.
Oh, man.
The house immediately went up in flames, and immediately beginning to struggle, William was able to free himself of his restraints and remove he and his wife's, and they were able to make it out of their home with their lives. In a later interview, William talks about how they got out because he could tell Meekins, who tied him up, was, quote, the rookie.
William was new guy screwed up.
Basically, that's what he says. He's like, well, we owe our life to the fact that we got tied up by the rookie. William was obviously still enraged over the attack on he and his wife, pointing out that while they escaped the fire did kill his cat.
Oh.
They would be the only two targets of the Briley brothers that would make it out with their lives.
They told Meekins, no more mistakes.
Well, I think it was also like no more setting a house on fire and hoping that it kills them. Like we're not going to leave them alive and
You're going to kill them before they set the house on fire.
Yeah, you got to confirm.
Yeah, and I think they also realize how much attention setting a house on fire really brings. Yeah, so. Again, like I said, these are going to be, and the reason we have so much detail about that story is because they survived. They were able to tell the tale. Every other one we are going to have here is basically going to be either, we'll get to it when we get there, but it's not going to come from the mouth of the Briley brothers. It's going to be put together.
Okay.
So, most of the rest of the attacks would not. Oh, I just said that. Yeah. So, 9 days after that attack, on March 21st, a man named Michael McDuffie was attacked in his home. He was a 20-year-old vending machine repairman. It is said that he was assaulted, shot, and had his home cleared of valuables by the Brileys and possibly Duncan Meekins. 10 days after that, the McDuffie attack, there was a drug deal gone south that involved Linwood and Duncan Meekins in a disagreement with a man named Edric Clark. During this disagreement, Edric was shot and killed by Linwood. So you notice how Linwood's name has been connected with every single one so far. And everybody else, I think that guy might have been there, but definitely Linwood was. So, and again, these two attacks that we just talked, or three attacks, are all within 19 days. So one happened 10 days later and then 9 days later.
That's so crazy that, because usually, especially with serial killers, there's like a building before they get to the rapid attacks. There's one and then they kill somebody and then they're like, oh, okay. And but I also understand the difference in MO, that these guys aren't going out to kill. They're going out to rob.
Yeah, home invasions.
Right.
I don't know if they fall under the serial killer moniker, Like,
serial robber.
It's more than three with a similar MO. Isn't that the deal?
I mean, but just the way that they do things isn't, they're not, I guess they would be a little bit of a product killer.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that up for debate.
People much smarter than us know the difference.
Yeah. So, Duncan Meekins gets basically set up a drug deal with Edric Clark. Linwood says that's not how much Duncan told me it was going to cost, which it was, but Linwood was trying to get the deal, and so the guy said, well, I don't give a fuck what you think Duncan said. This is how much it costs. And so Linwood just shot him like 3 times.
It's a drug deal, not a farmer's market.
With a 32?
Yeah, most likely. Most likely. So, again, about a week and a half later on April 9th. Remember, the first attack was March 21st, right?
Wow, less than
No, the Michael McDuffie attack was March 21st. The first attack was March 12th. Now it's April 9th.
Not even 2 months.
So it's not even 1 month. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So about a week and a half later on April 9th, the brothers saw an elderly woman heading home from a babysitting job. She was babysitting some children for who she often assisted. They followed her home, and when they arrived, they forced their way into her home before beating and repeatedly raping and eventually murdering her. They would clear her home of valuables before heading off into the night with no one any the wiser. So, I mean, basically, like, they do the whole follow her, she gets her door unlocked, they push their way in, they have their way, and they get what they want, and they leave no one behind, again. And this is like, I want to say, I don't know if I have the age on this woman, but when I say elderly, like, we're talking like 60s, 70s, 80s. Like, you know, these are not, they're like hyenas, you know. They're not going to go after the biggest, strongest prey. They're going after the vulnerable. Yeah. So, they've been going very hard, obviously, over the last month or so, and it seems that they've decided to pump the brakes a little. However, on the 4th of July, there was a man near Linwood's car whom the gang believed was trying to steal it or steal things from it. Both could be true, or neither could be true. Either way, he didn't deserve what he got next. They would drag the young man, named Christopher Phillips, to a nearby unoccupied backyard and begin beating him severely. At some point, Phillips began to scream for help, and not wanting to have their presence known, Linwood picked up a cinder block and crushed Christopher's head with it. So it's either a cinder block or a chunk of cement, depending on where you get your information. But either way, not a good situation. Well, you're also being held down too, so there's like you can't even defend yourself, and you know,
it's not like you can get your hands up.
Change
at the
his
last
direction
second.
a little bit. Yeah, nope, just smashed him over the head. And basically because, you know, like they thought that he was fucking with their car. So they drug him, started beating his ass, and he just was like, help. And they were like, oh shit, he's saying help, kill him. And so Linwood picks up a giant piece of cement or a formed cinder block and crushes his head in.
Clearly they don't understand the concept of help.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, they definitely weren't helping.
yeah, they missed that by a mile.
Yeah. So 2 months later, the boys are out and on the prowl and had already been looking for a victim for most of that night. They were looking for someone to take for all they had, and they decided that they were going to wait outside of a South Richmond nightclub after striking out for most of the night. They decided the risk of how busy it was made it worth it because they would definitely find a victim. So like they're cruising town all night and can't, you know, it's a slow night. It's a slow night.
Slow night.
So they go to this nightclub, and it's it's obviously a busy area. A lot of people going in and out, and that's to most killers would be a very risky play. But because, like we said, their MO is about getting something. You know, they want to rob, they want to kill. You know, they want to steal. There's got to be something from it. So they're like, all right, worth it. We'll find someone. We'll get the fuck out of here, and we'll make our day. So at that nightclub, there was a man named Johnny Gallagher, who was a local and popular radio DJ as well as a musician. Johnny was a pretty popular dude and always busy at the club where he and his band were there to play multiple sets that night. Between one of the sets, Johnny G stepped outside either for a breather or a cigarette. Porque no los dos. As you may have guessed, Johnny G was approached and assaulted by Linwood and forced into the trunk of his own car. Question number 5. Which land yacht did Johnny G drive? Was it A, the Lincoln Continental, B, the Cadillac Coupe de Ville, C, the Ford Crown Victoria, or D, the Oldsmobile 98? Man, I can just see those things rolling down the road right now. I had a girlfriend in high school who drove a late 70s Oldsmobile.
Rob says the Oldsmobile 98.
I say the Caddy.
Caddy. That I had a Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I had a 73 Cadillac
That's
Coupe.
all my papa drove was Caddies.
It was nice. I loved it.
Yeah.
Johnny was forced into the likely roomy trunk of his own Lincoln Continental.
Well, they're all similar.
They're all big cars.
We still got a tie game here, though, guys. 5 questions in, 250 to 250. We've got a low-scoring affair, but that doesn't matter.
There's an asterisk on this.
Oh, no. Asterisks don't count. You wrote down D.
You got to back up your answers. Do what Chey does. Okay, so Johnny was forced into the, like I said, likely roomy trunk of his Lincoln Continental. He was driven to an island that existed in the middle of the James River, and on this island were the neglected ruins of an old paper mill, and this is where they took him. Johnny was taken from the trunk and shot point blank in the back of the head and dumped into the river. How much money did 3 men split from Johnny's wallet? This one is just guess it. Closest to the answer is 200.
No, you have to write it down. Oh. I can't.
You're asking for the total amount that was split 3 ways, not each man's.
How much was in his wallet? Yeah, how much was in his wallet, basically?
Hold on, I'm pondering. What year was this? Back in the 70s, 79. Huh?
Yeah, 79.
Okay, I say $24.
Shai says 24. Rob said 17.
The crew of just the 3 Briley brothers this time would take a $2 each hit from Johnny's $6 that he had inside of his wallet.
$6.
Also, Linwood would keep a turquoise ring that Johnny was wearing.
$6.
And I think one of the more fucked up things about it.
Jewelry, though.
Yeah, I think one of the most fucked up things about it is that they said basically what attracted them to taking him was that he was wearing a shiny belt buckle, but they didn't even take the belt buckle.
So they took the turquoise ring and the $6.
Yeah,
so like $8 worth of stuff.
Yeah,
that gives Rob the 500 to 250 lead, like $8 worth of stuff. Apparently, it's a nice ring. It's actually going to come into play later. So, according to the Oxygen article, which quotes their own TV show Killer Siblings, the crew targeted Johnny due to a shiny belt buckle. Like, how fucking stupid are these guys that they're just attracted to shiny things like a fish or something, right? Get a like nice shiny popper in there, and you can get all the bass in the lake. The crew targeted Johnny due to a shiny belt buckle, and again, they didn't even take that. They just took $6 in a turquoise ring. Only a few weeks later, the crew would follow home a 62-year-old woman who worked as a private nurse. Her name was Mary Wilfong, and she never made it inside her home as the brothers followed her and cornered her before she could even enter. Linwood would then beat her to death with a baseball bat just prior to all of them entering her home with her own keys and removing from it all of the valuables. So they they didn't even do the whole push her inside, No, they just
beat the shit out of her in the front yard and take it.
That's crazy. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
Was there a task force or anything at this point looking for
the thing
guys?
is that if you think about it, really besides them being elderly, all of their crimes look a little different right now.
Well, I was going to say, even Johnny G doesn't sound that elderly if he's.
Well, he wasn't, and that's just it. Is that
they haven't been connected yet?
Their crimes are so different. Yeah, they haven't even been connected. Yeah, so it's a great question, but unfortunately, no.
We've seen with this show, we've seen the formation of some really good task forces too. But usually it takes a few of the same exact thing
and a witness maybe.
Well, I was going to say a witness besides the first couple. Nobody else has seen them do any of this.
Right, and remember the first couple got tied up. Their house got set on fire. It was very home invasion.
Right,
and then
different than it's been shaking out lately.
Yes, yeah. So basically, it seems to me like they're getting impatient. Like that's how I feel. They're not even they're just just kill her outside. We'll grab her keys. She's obviously at home, so doesn't matter.
I gotta feel like a dead body on the front lawn would probably draw some attention from the neighbors.
Yeah, they might have drawn her inside, but
unless they're like, "Oh, Mary's out there sleeping on the lawn again." She's such a kook with her head split open,
oh god. After only 5 days, the brothers are at it again, attacking and killing 75-year-old Blanche Page and a boarder in her home who was 59-year-old Charles Garner. Blanche had been bludgeoned to death by a baseball bat, and police said that her head was, quote, unrecognizable as human.
Oh.
While Charles was found... Say that again?
They took joy in it.
Yeah, like that. I mean, you got to hit. Yeah, I mean, you probably kill somebody with one good hit to the head with a baseball bat.
The phrase "overkill" exists for a reason.
Yeah, right. Charles was found assaulted and stabbed with multiple different weapons. He was first beaten with a baseball bat, then stabbed with 5 separate kitchen knives from the kitchen, a pair of scissors, and a fork, the last of two which were left sticking out of his body after the boys left. I say the boys, the brothers.
Yeah. Why did they have to go back and get different knives? Is the one you have not good enough?
Not good enough. Did it break?
It's a thrill in it.
Yeah, I mean they're just giving it to this guy, and he's like, "What are you doing? That's a fucking butter knife. Go get a steak knife.
Let's try a fork."
Yeah, grab some scissors while you're in there. I do
And
wonder
then I
if it
think
was
they
like one
truly
trip
just
where
thought
they
it
just,
was. I think they were like, leave the fork and the scissors in. That'll be hilarious.
I mean, do you think they brought it all in one trip, or do you think they made multiple trips?
No telling.
Just grab all the sharp stuff and bring it in
Just
here.
grab the whole silverware
Yeah,
drawer.
that's what it kind of feels like. Yeah, just rip that drawer out. I'm gonna stab him with everything sharp enough to do so.
It feels personal, but it's not.
Well, when you're that fucking psycho,
Everything's personal like that.
Right,
Yeah,
but
it's like everything's
stabbings are
personal.
always super personal.
Oh, yeah.
And especially close, choking, stabbing, that stuff's all really, it always gives a really personal feel. And especially to sit there and take the time to find the right instrument to do it. It feels crazy personal.
I will say, you know me, I like to take out details when I can.
Yeah.
But one detail I can give that I did take out was that basically what this seemed like was they beat him hard enough to where he was alive and conscious but couldn't move and kind of just had fun.
Yeah.
That's what
Stabbing
it
at
sounds
him.
like.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were saying.
torturing
They
him.
were taking joy in it.
Yeah. And what an insult to injury that it's just all the shit from the kitchen of the house. They didn't even bring it. They're like, oh yeah, just grab all that stuff.
It's like getting shot with your own gun. It's just
And then again to leave him there, they take all the knives out, but they leave the fork and the scissors just sticking out of him. The one thing about this, remember I said they're getting a little impatient, a little loosey goosey.
Yeah.
This crime was committed only 2 blocks from their home.
Oh, God.
After this attack, James would lead the crew out one night, and they went down the street of a longtime friend, Harvey Wilkerson. Now, the boys know Harvey Wilkerson through the exotic pets trade. They're pretty good friends at the time, but Harvey kind of he knows their reputation. So they go down the street of Harvey Wilkerson with no intention of visiting him. But basically, from what it sounds like, Harvey's out on his patio, sees them, goes inside and closes the door, and one of them sees him do that. And so they're like, let's go over here. And he's like, well, fuck, they know I'm home, And so when they come to the door, he's like, he knows their reputation, but at the same time, he's afraid of what they're going to do if he doesn't do what they say, He doesn't know their reputation as a killer, just as
just
menaces,
bad boys,
Yeah, exactly. But he's like, well, I know these guys, so
They're not going to hurt me.
we're friends, right?
yeah. So he thinks there's going to be problems if he doesn't let them inside, even though, again, very aware of their kind of history and suspicion surrounding them. So at that point, he does let them inside. Also inside the home was Harvey's girlfriend. Some say what's the common law wife. And mother of his child, Judy Barton, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, and his 5-year-old son, Harvey Jr. Basically, the second they were inside, they overpowered the adults and duct taped them to chairs, bound and gagged them. Judy was taken into the kitchen by Linwood and assaulted and raped within earshot of her son and the father of her children. Duncan Meekins would continue the sexual assault before Linwood drugged Judy back out in her chair. After searching the home for a while for valuables, Linwood was just pieced out. He was like, nah, I'm bored with this. I got what I need out of here, which was the valuables. So we have James, Anthony, and Duncan still at the scene of the crime. James then basically took over the operations for the remainder of the assault on the Wilkersons, and not satisfied that Duncan Meekins had just been tagging along this whole time, James told him that, quote, you need to get one. Then the two threw sheets over the 2 adults, and Duncan shot Harvey through the head, killing him, and then handed the pistol over to James, who killed Judy, in front of their son, Harvey Jr. Then, in probably the most heinous act of all of this, they truly honor their no witnesses rule, and James turns the gun on the most defenseless victim that they've had in all of their kills, and kills 5-year-old Harvey Jr.
Oh.
And this is in a span of 3 months?
Yeah, so I think this attack took place maybe September. So we're about 6 months. It all takes place in 1979.
Wow.
The entire, like, everything is going to happen within about, I think, 7 or 8 months. But the thing here is that at this time, police are starting to put things together. They're starting to understand, like, look, the murders are happening here. You know, they've got it on the map. And the police presence in the area is much heavier. So on that day, the police are patrolling the area more heavily, and the brothers are on their radar. And at some point during that day, they had seen who they believed to be the brothers running through the neighborhood not too long after hearing gunshots, but they could not determine from which direction they came. Like, with shot tracker wasn't a thing in 1979, you know?
I was just going to say, their shot spotter didn't work in 1979.
Yeah, that's what it's called, shot spotter. So, they at some point heard shots, and some point saw 3 men they believed to be the Briley brothers and Duncan Meekins.
So they're on the radar.
They've been on the radar, too. That's why they believe that these 3 men they saw running through the neighborhood around the time gunshots were heard. But the thing was, they were like, well, we can't just grab these guys because gunshots were heard over here and they're running. Like, it's not illegal to run, especially if you heard some gunshots. So they didn't take them right then. But the boys would be arrested after only a few days when the bodies of the Wilkersons were found dead. Remember, they're connected to the Wilkersons. They're people that they knew. They were like friends of the exotic pet trade. They were buds. The boys would all be arrested after only a few days when the bodies of the Wilkersons were found. And once the 4 were taken in, Duncan Meekins basically flips instantly for a plea deal. He's like, yeah, these fucking 3 brothers.
This is what we did. This is how we did it.
Yeah, so he basically gave a very detailed account of all of the crimes that he was involved in and as much info as he could about all the ones he was not present for. In exchange for his testimony, question number 7, what was he awarded? What did he get for turning on them? Was it A, let off completely, B, life with no chance of parole, C, 5 to 15 years, or D, life plus 80 years with a chance of parole? Let off completely, life with no chance of parole, 5 to 15 years, or life plus 80 years with a chance of parole.
And is this what he was promised or what he actually got?
He got what he was promised.
Okay.
Okay, read them to me again. What are they?
A is let off completely. Like, he for his plea bargain was, hey, you give us all the information, we're not going to charge you with anything. Life with no chance of parole, so avoiding the death penalty, 5 to 15 years, life plus 80 years with chance of parole.
Okay.
What do you got?
I say B, life without
Life with no
parole.
chance parole. Yeah. Rob said C, 5 to 15.
Duncan Meekins, for his testimony, received life plus 80 years with a chance of parole.
Ain't never getting out, buddy.
I don't know how that works. Life plus 80 years. We're like, yeah, we might get out. We'll see how you do.
We've talked about this before. Life in prison's 25 years.
Yeah, but then the 80 years on top of that.
Right, but
depending on the state, too.
You get life, and then in that 80 years, you have a chance of parole.
Oh, okay. So not after your 80 years. Right. Okay.
So the youngest brother, Anthony, was handed down a life sentence with a chance of parole for his role in the crimes. Virginia has something called a triggerman statute, which says that only the person who committed the actual physical act of murder is the only person eligible for the death penalty in a crime. So if you fully premeditate a crime, Mom and Dad, and you guys go commit this first-degree murder that you fully predetermined, and you were in the state of Virginia, only the person who pulled the trigger would be eligible for the death penalty.
No, that's going to be Dad because I can't do it.
That's why you guys got a Bonnie and Clyde and just hold it together.
But yeah.
Yeah, so
it doesn't work that way in California.
No, in California you share everything.
Yes.
Well, so I just thought that was interesting. I had never heard of that statute
that's
before,
crazy.
because I know that some states if you are involved in a
Any
crime
capacity,
at all, and it's a capital crime, you could be sentenced to death whether you
were the driver or the guy who actually did it.
You know, for instance, there was one that I remember where like 4 boys robbed a house together, and the homeowner ended up being there and killed one of the boys. And the 3 boys that were there with him got charged with that murder. Because that's how, whatever state it was, that's how it worked. If somebody dies in the committing of a crime, you're responsible for that life. So,
which is way different than the guy who waited in his basement and killed the 4 kids that broke in.
That guy was fucking
because they were breaking into his house, and so he pretended like he was gone and like sat there with a shotgun in his basement, and they broke in through the basement, and he killed all
and recorded it all on audio. He was sitting there like,
"Yeah, come on down here, you little fucking punk."
Yeah. So he went to prison for murder.
No warning shot or nothing, huh?
No, he set him up. Like what they were doing. We said it in the episode when we did it. Like what they were doing was not good. Was not acceptable behavior. But it did. They did not deserve to die. Yes, no.
That's like there was the guy in Florida who he was tired of stuff being stolen from his garage, so he used his wife's purse as bait and left the garage door halfway open and left the purse in the garage, and then was there with a rifle, and when somebody came in and took the purse, he shot and killed him.
I think I remember that.
That was like 7 or 8 years ago.
I really remember that.
Yeah. And he went to prison for murder too, because I mean,
you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't bait people into it.
Yeah. So I'm already realizing this is going to be on the shorter side, but that's all right. That's just kind of how we're going to do it now. Some things are going to be streamlined, but
the other 2 brothers.
Well, it's just it's a story that I kind of feel like I maybe stretched into a full episode. You know, opposite of last week when I was like, "Shit, dude, there's so much I'm cutting out." This one was more like.
I mean, we're just over an hour right now. There's probably 6-7 minutes that'll get cut.
Okay, we'll be all right.
Yeah,
probably we might not make it to 90 minutes, but it does seem like we're coming to an end here. But there is still a lot that we've got to talk about. So after Meekins makes his plea bargain, that leaves Linwood and James, who also killed somebody. Linwood was dealt numerous life sentences for some of the murders in which it couldn't be proven who the exact killer was, but he faced capital charges for the kidnap and killing of Johnny G. James got multiple life sentences as well as 2 death penalty charges for the killing of Judy and Harvey Jr. It is said that during a detective's interview with Linwood about the Johnny G charge, that Linwood was still wearing the turquoise ring that belonged to Johnny G. And was recognized by the detective because he was a friend of Johnny G and was there the day that he bought it.
Oh my God.
Wow. Why not just walk in with a name tag that says, "Hi, I'm the guy who killed your friend."
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about this detective too, if I'm not mistaken, like he was no longer an active detective, but he was like basically an expert in like murder investigations. So they brought him in.
It legit sounds like the plot of a movie. "We need your help on a case." "I don't do that anymore. You're going to want to hear this. It was Johnny G."
Yeah. Johnny G?
Yeah, it was Johnny G. Man, I remember when I went and bought a turquoise ring with him. Like,
that's like exactly.
It legit feels like a movie plot.
Well, imagine getting arrested and not like ditching that turquoise ring that is from a murdered man somewhere. Like throw it in the floor of the cop car. Like whatever you got to do, get that.
Sell it, man.
Fucking hand, you stupid idiot.
It looked good, man. Turquoise jewelry.
The 2 oldest brothers, James and Linwood, did get death penalty sentences. Normally, this show, again, it's about over now. They've gone through court, they've got their sentences handed out, but it turns out that the second James and Linwood were dropped into prison, they kind of started running shit, like fast. They would smuggle and deal drugs and other contraband items when they got into prison. Because, again, they had money. Like, their dad was able to put money on the commissary.
But they're such bad people, they wouldn't put them in the same block.
Well, they're on death row, which is basically the most locked down thing you can get. But they still manage to have some sort of control.
Have you ever seen how like they communicate in the prisons and stuff?
Don't they like throw stuff with strings?
Mm-hmm. Or they'll like flush it down from the upstairs toilet and then pull it out of the downstairs toilet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would just use Morse code on the bars or something.
They do that. They'll tap on the pipes and stuff. But yeah, the throwing the stuff with string is wild to me.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I mean, if you're gonna be on death row, you might as well be there with your brother. Like,
yeah, and I thought the same. Like, how did they end up on the same death row? But I think that was the thought that like, oh, well, they get out for 1 hour a day, not at the same time. They're in their own, because when you're in death row, you're in your own cell. Like, you're not sharing a cell with somebody. You're basically a protected asset. So, question number 8. After 5 years in prison, a fairly large event takes place. What was it? A. Linwood is executed. B. They plan and execute an escape. C. James is stabbed. Or D. Linwood kills a guard. Linwood is executed. They plan and execute an escape. James is stabbed. Or Linwood kills a guard.
Don't look at my answer.
I'm not. I already wrote mine.
D. He kills a guard.
We got Rob at 500, Shy at 250. What was
They both said D kills a guard.
Kills a guard. Linwood is a crazy motherfucker, isn't he?
Yes.
Did he?
But I think maybe even crazier than killing a guard is that on May 31st, 1984, the two brothers let a 6-man escape.
Oh my God! I almost wrote B.
Gotta go with your gut.
At Mecklenburg Prison.
Know. But you threw me off because you said it's not over yet. So I was like, damn, they killed someone in prison. As soon as he said,
yeah, it's not over because they escaped from prison. The escape was part of a coordinated. Go ahead, sorry.
Who escaped?
There were six
James.
people.
Okay.
James, Linwood, and 4 other death row inmates.
Oh, the worst of the worst.
Yeah. Well, you'll see right here that may not. I mean, yes, they are, but.
I don't know. I've seen Con Air.
The worst of the worst. Yeah, thanks, Steve Buscemi, for proving us all wrong. It seems to me that James and Linwood are going to go ahead and remain the worst. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the escape was part of a coordinated attack that left the brothers and their 4 other death row inmates to effectively take over the death row unit. As soon as they were in control, the Briley brothers began dousing the guards in rubbing alcohol with the intention of burning them alive. However, fellow death row inmate Willie Lloyd Turner prevented them from doing so. Not too long later, another of the crew named Wilbert Lee Evans stopped Linwood from raping one of the female guards. Evans would later apply for clemency due to this act, and several guards came to his aid, testifying that they owed their lives to him and his actions. So he was on death row. He basically saved the lives of 4 guards, according to these 4 guards. He asked for clemency, and of course, this is the state of Virginia, so they said no. Governor L. Douglas Wilder would eventually deny the clemency after the Commonwealth attorney did not think that Evans deserved the clemency despite his act of heroism.
Just take his death row away, throw him in prison. You did it.
He would eventually be executed on October 17th, 1990.
Wow.
So the inmates had planned on attempting to make it to Canada. 2 of the 6 of them, Lem Tuggle Jr. and Willie Jones, made it as far. Don't all of them have the most death row names possible?
Such good names. In fact, Lem
Tuggle Jr.
I almost sent
Willie
you a thread
Jones.
from Reddit today because there was somebody asking about like the best hockey player names, but then it turned into like best sports names, and guys like Coco Crisp were in there, and all such good names. But I was thinking we always have such good names on this show. Lim Tuggle is possibly one of the greatest names I've ever heard. If somebody told me their name was Lim Tuggle, I would not believe them.
So Lim Tuggle Jr. and Willie Jones made it as far as, remember, they're in Richmond, Virginia. They made it to Vermont before being taken into custody. The brothers had split off with Tuggle and Jones in Philadelphia because they had an uncle nearby, and that basically they knew their uncle would kind of help hide them. So they move into a place near their uncle, and on June 19th, 20 days after their escape, the brothers were arrested by heavily armed FBI agents with police assistance. They were found after the FBI assumed that their uncle might do something like this and had wiretapped his phone.
Wow.
Nice.
They were held briefly at a local prison before being extradited back to Virginia.
That's
Over the next several-
that's so wild to me that the FBI was like, they got an uncle in Philadelphia.
Why don't you go to a family member?
Just go wiretap and we'll check it out later.
He's kind of shady. Here's your warrant. Over the next several months, appeals would run out, and the brothers would quickly find that their death sentences were, in fact, going to stand, and it was just a matter of when. Question number 9. By what method was Linwood executed on October 12th, 1984? This one, there's not that many, so you guys tell me. This is October 12th, 1984, Richmond, Virginia. By what method was Linwood executed?
Hey, no peeking.
Chai, I can see you.
I saw, but I wasn't going to say. I was going to say lethal injection. That's the only thing I could think of.
Lethal injection and firing squad.
Firing squad.
I think
All
firing
right.
squad's a good guy with a blindfold and a
Hey,
cigarette.
I like that though. That's the way they should go out.
That's how I want to go out. I don't even want to be on death row. That's just
Yeah.
They just
I think
shoot
that's
you in
still
the
an
nut.
option in Texas.
it's just
So-
be a volunteer.
On October 12th, 1984, Linwood Briley was killed in Richmond, Virginia by the electric chair.
Okay.
Oh, damn it.
They were still using the electric chair in the mid-'80s. I
That
would
is
not have guessed
crazy.
that.
I never would have guessed that either.
Didn't you guys see Monsters Ball?
Or the Green Mile.
I thought the Green Mile was the last time they used it.
No, that's how they executed Puff Daddy in Monsters Ball.
Nope, didn't see it. I missed it.
So Linwood had a final meal and was executed with his last words being, "I am innocent."
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
James would be
Donald, do
executed.
you really think somebody would hear that and be like, "Hey, wait, the guy said
Wait,
he's
stop,
innocent.
stop.
You guys didn't ask him this before."
James would be executed on April 18th, 1985, so about 6 months after his brother. But something happened 2 weeks prior to his execution. Question number 10. Now, this is 10 of 11. Rob is up 250 or
This is
500.
a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, this is a very low-scoring game. That's okay, though. Question number 10. What event happened 2 weeks prior to James' execution? Was it A, he finally admitted to all of his crimes? B, he was nearly proved innocent by a technicality? C, he was married? Or D, he tried to kill himself?
I said
C.
B, technicality.
Rob says C, got married.
Rob is going to take a
Shut the
lead
fuck up. Who would
even
marry someone like
further.
that?
You would be
Well, let me-
surprised at the
I'll
amount of
tell
people
you-
who write love letters to
That
incarcerated.
is sickening. That's
Every now and
disgusting.
again, we get like comments on the Instagram when we post pictures of serial killers, and people are like, "Oh my god, he's so fucking sexy, I can't handle it."
Shut
Like,
up. But
those
do you
kind
know
of
what he
comments
did?
happen.
Yeah, no, they know exactly what
That's
he
what
did.
they like about it. I think
No.
that's what attracts. Yeah.
That's psycho.
So yes, James was married to a writer who was convinced of his innocence, named Evangeline Redding. He was married in a prison ceremony, and the witness was his father, Linwood Sr. He was married and then immediately ushered back to his cell, as Virginia is a non-conjugal visit state.
Good. He didn't get to do the duty.
So he
But
didn't even
she
get
gets
to
the
he
rights
didn't get
to the
company.
story.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard of her, so I don't.
That's
think much
she got a
of
good
her.
name too, so I feel like I gotta remember that.
Evangeline Redding. Yeah, that's a good name.
Evangeline.
Right. Dumb person though. So yeah, like I said, no conjugal visits in Virginia. So
Couldn't consummate the marriage.
hey, congratulations! Throw a couple handfuls of rice in the face.
You're married.
All right, we gotta take you back to the cell. Don't touch him anymore. No touching.
No touching.
So, yeah, on the morning of April 18th, 1985, it's his execution day, and his fellow inmates attempt to delay his execution by attacking guards as they came to retrieve him for his execution. Like, this is how much people like him in prison.
They're like, he's still on his honeymoon, man. Just let him chill.
Yeah, this is that other inmates attack the guards that are coming to take him to be executed. They were successful in causing some minor injuries, but were not able to delay the execution by even 1 minute. James had a final meal and was executed also by the electric chair. Prior to his execution, one of the witnesses was the mother of Judy Barton. That's the woman who was murdered with the 5-year-old. She pleaded with James to admit to his crimes to free his soul, as she did not agree with the capital punishment, and the only way to have closure and save his soul would be for him to admit to his crimes before he was killed. But James' last words were said to have been, while staring intensely at the witnesses of the execution, saying twice, "Are you happy?
Oh, shut up.
Are you happy?"
I figured it was going to be, "I'm innocent."
My answer to that would be yes, very much so.
Yeah. You happy?
Well,
I will be in about 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Clack.
And here's the deal, Shy. It's the last question. But it is possible for you to score 500 points on it.
It is.
So if you can get both of these correct and Rob doesn't get either of them, it'll be a tie, and Greg will send you into some sort of artistic challenge. Or whatever he decides to do. So Greg, start brainstorming now, just in case. It is a long shot, I won't lie.
Greg's looking at me like I know Shy loses all the time. So.
No, I know there's an artistic challenge, and I got to figure out what
I'm
it
not
is.
very artistic.
It doesn't matter. You pander to your judge.
Yeah.
And that would be
that's
me.
Exactly. So, question number 11, the final question. I'm going to give you 6 real final meals of serial killers. 2 of them are the orders of James and Linwood. Some of these are quite long, so bear with me. 250 points for each correct answer. So, Shy, you need to pick James and Linwood's meals, and Rob needs to not pick either of those. I have 6 options. I need 2 answers from you, okay?
Okay.
A is a grilled tenderloin steak, a baked potato, green peas, a salad with French dressing, rolls with butter, cake, peaches, punch, and milk. B is 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. C is fried shrimp with cocktail sauce and a lemon lime soda. D is a cup of black coffee. E is a triple bacon cheeseburger, 2 chicken fried steaks drenched in gravy with onions, 3 fajitas, a cheese omelet, a large helping of fried okra, a pound of barbecue meat with a half a loaf of white bread, a pint of ice cream, 3 root beers, and a peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts. And F is Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza, 4 Burger King Whoppers, French fried eggplant, fried squash, fried okra, a whole pecan pie, and 3 2-liter Pepsi bottles. So A is a grilled tenderloin steak, B is 2 pints of ice cream, C is fried shrimp, D is a cup of black coffee, E is a triple bacon cheeseburger, and a whole bunch of other shit. F is a Pizza Hut stuffed cup pizza and other fast food accoutrement.
So many of those.
E and F.
They
That's what I
both
got.
said E and F.
Shut the fuck up.
Wow. So E and F are the orders of Lawrence Russell Brewer and Marriott Albert Pruitt. Now, neither of those are correct. I'm sorry. So Cheyenne, Rob is going to take the victory on this one. But let me just tell you that this fun fact about Lawrence Russell Brewer's order of a triple bacon cheeseburger, 2 chicken fried steaks drenched in gravy and onions, 3 fajitas, a cheese omelet, a large helping of fried okra, a pound of barbecue meat, a half a loaf of white bread, a pint of ice cream, 3 root beers, a peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts. He got all of it there and did not have a single bite.
That's
Shut
even funnier. That's hilarious.
That is because I'm
Basically-
thinking that's too much money spent on this asshole.
He said,
Well, he basically ordered the limits of what he could get and then was like, nah,
Fuck
I don't wanna
you.
do this.
it took so long to get it, I'm not even hungry anymore.
Yeah. So, little fun fact there. We're basically at the end here. That is the life of the Briley brothers. Both Anthony and Duncan Meekins remain in prison, despite some of the investigators from the case going to bat for Duncan many times. Because remember, they promised that, he had a chance at parole, and 2 of the investigators basically said, buddy, we're going to go to bat for you anytime it comes up. He has never, to this day, received a face-to-face parole hearing. That was as recent as 2018. So I don't know what's happened over the last 5 years. I don't really give a shit.
How old are they?
Born in the
Born in the 50s. I mean, they're in their 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
They still
Yeah.
don't deserve to get out. They were there when they killed a baby.
But Duncan Meekins has never even received a face-to-face parole hearing, only had it denied before ever getting there. Basically, the two investigators who speak on his behalf believe that while he may have done some terrible things, he spoke out against some far more dangerous men and was able to provide enough information to have them put away and eventually executed.
He only did that so he would get less time. It wasn't like he was like, hey, I'm going to do you
Also,
all a favor.
he killed Harvey Sr. Like,
Yeah.
he did pull the trigger on one of these crimes. So I'm with you. I don't think he should get out.
No.
I would just like to end it with a quote from the Hanover County Sheriff V. Stuart Cook in 1979, who oversaw the Briley investigation. He said, quote, "There are homicides and there are homicides. What a brutal bunch of sons of bitches they were."
That they were.
Perfect.
That does sum it up
I
quite
gotta put a
nicely.
face to these guys.
Yeah, you can do that.
He's going on YouTube. His
No.
Well,
favorite.
now's the time. So we're at the end. You look it up while I tell everybody the same thing I told you at the beginning. If you guys want to support us in any way, patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast is very helpful. As little as $1 a month you can give to the show. Everything comes with a reward. We're like 6 weeks into the new season now. So if you, again, I think I said this 2 episodes ago, or maybe last one, I'm not sure. But if you have not received something from the Patreon, send us a message through the email, serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com, or text us, or call us and leave us a voicemail, 1-805-666-2513. That's the easiest and best way to get a hold of us. We don't keep anybody's Patreon stuff for funsies. We just had half of the studio move across the country. Things are just getting rolling again. So if by the time you're hearing this, you are still missing Patreon stuff and it's been an unacceptable amount of time, hit us up. We want to get you that stuff and make sure that everybody's happy.
And if that doesn't work, you hit up Mama Chey. She'll get it for you.
Mama Chey. And then all the other stuff is just on serialchillerspod.com. All of the social media information, all of the, again, ways to get a hold of us, ways to give to the show through the Patreon monthly. If you just want to give a one-time thing to help out, to help us get some new books for research, or help us out with office rent, or help us out with filling the fridge with snacks and drinks for the guests and things like that.
Oh, yeah, you guys want a
helps.
water?
I guess family's not offered that stuff.
Totally
Last
forgot.
name Linwood Meekins?
Duncan Meekins.
Oh, okay. What was
Yeah.
Linwood's last name?
Briley.
Yeah, Linwood, James, and Anthony are all the Briley brothers. But yes, the Briley brothers, it's a story that I'm almost glad we don't have more detail on, because I'm not sure I can handle it.
Yeah, could have probably got.
Especially when it comes to like a 5-year-old who had to witness a bunch of crazy shit. So,
Looking
Very
at the last
crazy.
meals, the only thing that would make any of those any worse, because I'm still obsessed with that guy's massive order that he didn't touch.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean that's a dick move, but I think the only thing that would make it worse is if he like ordered like veal and foie gras. You know what I mean? Like just something super unethical to eat. And then, like he just had to be a dick right at the end, but
Wow.
So, anything else besides the last meal, Greg, that you wanna throw out here at the end of the show? Lonelyfanswith2z's.com.
lonelyfanswith2z's.com. Go there to be extorted for money, and yeah.
Wait, did you say OnlyFans?
Lonely Fans.
Oh.
it's my own business. It's my own website. It's like OnlyFans, but when you go there, you just get nude photos of me sent to you until you pay me to stop.
Oh, okay.
It's not the other way around.
Yeah,
You don't pay 'em to start.
you don't pay to get them. You pay to make them go away. So
I was looking at a picture of Linwood.
lonelyfanswith2z's.com. Hey, it's a real website, by the way, too. Type it into your phone, Shy. Lonelyfans with 2 Z's. Thank you guys for coming on. Congratulations,
Oh, I had a
Rob.
great
First time
time.
in and a victory. I know you were nervous, but look at you. You made it through.
I'll
You're
pay
like
for that for a
you're
couple of days.
like a
He
like a
will.
he's like a podcast professional.
Hey, it's really good to see you, buddy.
You too, of course.
Miss ya.
Miss you too. Anything you want to throw out there, Shy? At the end of the show
Congratulations,
here?
Rob.
Shy does a lot of congratulating her competitors.
I was going to say you are
She always
definitely the
makes them
most
feel so
sporting
good.
contestant we have on here.
My crown is,
Some people leave raging.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but you know what? When you're married to the winner, it's like, you're the queen. So
I know.
it's perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Team wins.
Team wins. Well, if that's all we got for you guys, then for Hello Greg, for Rob, for Mama Chey, I'm Cromulent Jesse, and remember, don't talk to strangers.
Never.
Or do and maybe get killed.
Yeah, wind up on a podcast.
No.
What was that?
Just start your own.